Welcome back for part two of our interview with Ash Giles. Ash is going to talk about the iconic 2005 Ashes series. Hope you enjoy. You headed into the Ashes 2005. Aussies have certainly got a mental stranglehold on England. You know, we almost felt like, you know, even though, like you say, you're as prepared as you can be, there must be some doubt because they almost just seemed unbeatable to us. Then obviously we start the first test and they gave us a complete thrashing. So how did it feel after that? You know, when, like you say, you think, yeah, I'm ready for this, and then massive knockback, you lose by over 200 runs. How did that feel?
Yeah, I think you can imagine how it felt. Really, it was pretty awful. And the same as you'd expect. And again, I'm not blaming the media. The same thing started in the media. You know, same old England. Going to lose 5-0. Drop him. And I was one of those people. And I made the mistake actually of having a dig back in that week between Lords and Edgbaston. I had a bit of a dig back in the media. You know, I asked a question at the wrong time. Shouldn't have bitten, and then it all went mad for a week. Should have just kept my head down. But the difference, you know, the difference between probably old England teams and that England team, yes, we got beaten quite comfortably in the end, but there were moments in that first test where we really put Australia under pressure. That first day atmosphere was just electric, you know. Harmison bowled speed light, Fred bowled quick. We were all over them. We just didn't get enough runs first innings. But the difference between those teams of old and new England teams, we got to Edgbaston a week later, and I remember as I used to sit on a player management group with some of the coaches, and Duncan Fletcher in this meeting turned to Varney and said, you know, how do you want to play this week? And I remember Varney saying this. He said, you know, we went hard at Lords, we go even harder here. And that was quite unusual. You know, it would have been easy to go, well, 1-0 down, let's try and get a draw here, let's get back in the series. But that wasn't Varney's game. Varney said, you know, we go on the attack. And there were other things that played into our hands from that point. So, you know, McGrath tripping over a ball.
Yeah.
The toss, which was a surprise to us, getting stuck in. The first day we got over 400. And we went on the attack, and we did exactly what we said, and you know, really threw down the gauntlet again. And you know, we all know what happened now. And that game was really tight, and we won by 2 runs or whatever. But we played some really good attacking cricket. And for me personally, I felt like I got back in the series. I got 5 wickets in the game, got 20 odd in the first innings. And I sort of felt like I did my job, got me in the series after having a really tough week, got me back in the series, and certainly got us back in the series. Although, you know, when it got that close, we thought at one point, I thought, how am I going to get out of this ground without us getting strung up? You know, when we looked like we should have won the game easily to losing the Test match. But thankfully, yeah, that we got the call and Harmy got that wicket, and I remember the celebrations very well. It was a good night, and then the whole summer just went mad. I mean, from every day from that point, the intensity in the series seemed to grow, but the attention on the series seemed to grow.
Yeah. Did after you got that win? I mean, obviously, if you'd have lost that, it'd been incredibly difficult to come back from. But we got that win. Did you feel a bit of a sort of change of a mindset, the arrogance of the Australians? Did you feel a mental sort of swing towards England on the back of
that? I mean, the Australians always play one way, and again, I don't mean this disrespectfully. That they're tough. They come at you hard. You know, you're in a battle, whether that be verbal or physical, in terms of, you know, going against each other bat and ball. But I certainly felt after the second test there was a bit of respect there. I think there was And to be fair to the Aussies, there always is. You know, after the game, you have a beer and you get on and you have a chat. They play the game hard. But I felt there was a level of respect after that win. And then certainly after Old Trafford, when we came so close, had them 9 down, we felt we'd gone another step again to that. You know, I remember Varney saying on the field at the end of that game, the Aussies are on the balcony celebrating a draw. And that was really unusual for us to see. We were normally on the wrong end of the Aussies quite consistently. And I got 3 wickets first innings, didn't get any second innings when we were trying to bowl them out. And I took that quite personally. It was quite a hard week between Old Trafford and Trent Bridge because, you know, he felt if I got 1 wicket, we'd have won the Test match. But Warney didn't get a wicket either second innings. It's funny, he got 5, I got 3 first innings. And then the wicket, although it spun, it turned slowly and didn't really disintegrate anymore. So I took that quite hard, but as a team, again, we took the confidence that, you know what, we know now that, you know, Edgbaston wasn't a fluke, and if we push back, we can put these guys under pressure, and I think that's what we learned as much as anything. And Freddie said it after the first Test, I think, because Freddie hadn't played a lot of cricket or any against Australia, I don't think, in Test cricket, and Freddie made the comment that they're not as big as I thought they were. He didn't mean because Fred's, you know, an imposing physical figure, but I guess they almost had this appearance of being cricketing gods. They were 10 foot tall and unbeatable. And I think he did all right at Lord's, Fred, and I think he thought, actually, you know, I can have a bit of this. Yeah. And that obviously set him off for the series. Kev entered the series in his first Test matches were against Australia, and going into Trent Bridge, we had this renewed sense of excitement and, you know, opportunity, really. Yeah. And that was, I mean, that, you know, so at this point, as I said just a minute ago, almost every day of a Test series was like a whole Test match in the amount of action, the amount of intensity, the amount of key moments, the amount of brilliant moments. You just left every night feeling completely exhausted. And often, you know, you might go out for dinner occasionally. I'd often go out to Varney or Trez for dinner, but often just sit in your room, have a bit of room service, and I'd be on a couple of pints, you know, just to try and calm us. Not too many, but a couple of pints, watch telly. But Trent Bridge, great Test. And as you know, with the Aussies, that even when you think you've got games won, it's never that simple against Australia, and particularly a Shane Warne Australia, who is just the hardest guy to play against in my role because he's so good. And you try and pit yourself against the opposition spinner. And for me, the best bowler who's played the game, ever. And chasing whatever we needed. 127, I think it was on that last afternoon. I think we did that thing that cricketers do, where you move around the dressing room looking for a safe place to sit where you get runs. And while you're getting runs, no one's allowed to move. And then you lose a wicket, and then everyone's going again. Some people have put the pads on, some just looking for a safe spot. We did a bit of that, and I think I felt through the process that I was still going to have a part to play somewhere. You hope you don't. You hope Trez and Strauss are going to go out there and smack it, and we walk the win and we'll go and celebrate. But I did end up back out there, and ended up out there with Garrett Jones to start off with. And I guess we needed about, I'm not sure, 15, 20, something like that. And I remember Jonah coming down and trying to take Warne on over mid-off, skying it and getting caught. And he got slated for it, but it was one of Jonah's options, to be fair.
So you were all of a sudden the main man. It was you were the man, really. Well, everyone was the
main man, because my record to that point against Warne had been horrendous. I was joined by Hoggy, who wandered out and he had this big bushy blonde hair under this hat, squeezed, his helmet squeezed down over it. And I remember him saying to me, "All right, lad, what's going on?" He was just nervous. And I turned to him and I said, "Well, this bloke, Warren, he's turning it square, and the bloke at the other end's bowling 95-mile-an-hour induckers. So good luck." And I just walked off up the other end. But from that point, really, it wasn't all enjoyable, but it's amazing when you get in those moments and you, in such important moments, in such big grounds and big crowds. For me, it was only like, there was me and Hoggy, Brett Lee and Shane Warne in the game. That was it, because you sort of just tunnel down to this mini game within a big game. And we chipped away, and Hoggy hit a 4, which was extraordinary. I've never seen him hit a ball in front of square, I don't think, before. And he got a full toss from Brett Lee and smacked it through extra cover. We both stood there for a minute wondering what had happened, and then thought we'd better run. And at that point, then when he hit that 4, I think that left us 4 to win. And I think there was 1 ball left at the over, and I'm standing at the non-strikers end thinking, just have a dart, Hoggy, just have a dart, just win the game. And he actually got one down. He got one off his legs, another inducker pace, clipped it. And first I thought, blimey, that's going to go. But it didn't. It went to sort of long leg, and we got 2. So there's 2 needed. End of the over, we came together, and I said, actually, he said, look, it is spinning. And I hadn't had a great deal of success against Warren. So I said, well, I'll get through this over. With pace on the ball the other end, we're going to nick 2. We'll get 2 somewhere. And then about 3rd ball, I got one off Warren, right half volley on leg stump, and just lent on. I don't think I've ever timed a ball better than this. And I thought, my God, that's it. As I hit it, it cannoned straight into Cattage's pads at short leg and came straight back. Didn't go anywhere, it just came straight back. And there was a bit of laughter around the back, Ponting and Gilchrist and Hayden, and I was perhaps laughing on the outside, but not internally. I then had a horrible hack at one that was a bit of a sort of drifter from Warren, came back in, and how it missed off stump must have been like that.
Sounds like you're doing a good job of seeing the over out there.
Yeah, I'd lost the plot at this point. And every ball I'd gone to Hoggy saying, we'll just see the over out now. We'll just see the over out. And then we got to the last ball, and the same thing. I said, no, it's all right. We'll get through this one. And again, it just drifted onto leg stump. And it was really a block, and I just sort of leant on it. And again, probably how I should have played most of my cricket, because I timed it really well, and it disappeared off through mid-wicket, and we set off, and that was it. It was the 2 we needed to win. And a great moment. I made sure I didn't trip up on my way there and back. Still not sure whether it went for 4 or not. And then it's weird, because the whole ground then opens up, where you've been really sort of tunnel vision, the whole thing opens up to you, and you sort of take it in, and everyone's jumping up and down and look at the balcony. And obviously after the handshakes and everything, all we wanted to do was get back up there and celebrate with the team. And suddenly we're 2-1 up in the Ashes. And a great feeling. And by this point then, after Trent Bridge, suddenly the whole country's just got cricket fever. The Ashes has, developed into this unbelievable series of 2 really strong teams. One of them, the Australians, almost to say the Galacticos, who we had a huge amount of respect for, some great players, and us, the wannabes almost, who are playing some really confident cricket. And so then that week in between Trent Bridge and the Oval, the last test, everything was about Ashes cricket, whether it be radio, papers, TV, everything. So I tried to avoid watching everything and reading everything, and just try to stay focused. And actually, funny thing, the day I left, my wife, she's a bit of I'm careful how I say this, bit of a white witch, but the day I left for the Oval, I was getting packed up to go. She had a really strange dream. And I went, really interesting now. I'm just going off to play the most important match of my life. She said, yeah, we were on a bus. She said, you, me and the kids on the top of this bus. And I was sort of half listening again. And yeah, thousands of people waving at us. And I was like, so then I stopped. I stopped. I was like, what? So yeah, it was a really, really strange but really vivid dream. And we had whisper, of that if we win the Ashes, they might do this whole parade.
Yeah.
But I certainly hadn't shared it with anyone. And I say whisper, it was literally hearing a line somewhere with media or something. And it was quite bizarre. And then obviously disappear off to the Oval. And it probably the longest week of my life, but one of the best in the end, one of the worst at times, and certainly one of the most rewarding. So, a really strange, whatever it was, 7 days at the Oval, 5 days of the game, obviously. And, culminating again, well, the whole game was weird because, we needed a draw. We wanted to make sure we didn't go in with that mindset that we wanted to keep playing that attacking cricket that we played the rest of the series, but we only needed a draw. So naturally, you do have half an eye on the weather forecast and whether a typhoon might blow through London, hopefully. This was all playing out. We did all right first innings. We got 300 odd. I got a few, I think. I got 30 odd. And that was the most success I'd had against Warne and the Aussies that summer. It actually coincided with the whole of that summer. We'd been dragging around this thing called Merlin. All clubs use the Merlin machine now, which bowls spin. We had the original, which was about the size of a house and used to get dragged around the country for us on the back of a truck. Great machine, but what would happen is, are you still there?
Yeah, mate, yeah.
You'd frozen.
Sorry, mate. No, still here, don't worry. Still awake.
So what would happen is Merlin would come out of the back of this truck, and it was brilliant because it replicated Warne's angles and everything in different balls and the variations. But up until this point, every match, all the batters would go through, then go through again. By the time it got to us, the thing had broken down. So we never got on it. And at the Oval, the day before the game, I'd finished batting and I'd been working on a bit how to play Warne with Fletch. And he said, get in there. So I went over, he's still operating. Strauss is in there, and he's going. And in the end, I shouted down to him, any danger you're going to get out of there? I don't think he liked it very much, but he did get out, and I went in and managed to get about half an hour against Merlin, and it made a world of difference just watching the way the ball comes out, just giving yourself time, how you play. So I got 30 odd first innings, we got 300 odd, quite drawn out first innings, I think, and they were cruising. And then Freddie came on, bowled a spell, unbelievable spell from one end for forever. And I think he said he was going to bowl till he bowled them out, whatever happened. And Hoggy bowled really well, and we ended up, I think, getting a lead of 10 or 7 or something like that on first innings. But at one point, it looked like they were going to go way past us and put us under big pressure.
Yeah.
And it, in the end, it came down to that final day. We went into the last day with 9 wickets in hand. Pretty much all we had to do was just bat, which was horrible. And I remember getting up that morning, I remember going to the ground, and we always did a huddle first thing in the morning, and Fletch generally spoke. And Fletch's voice was broken and, felt really edgy. And he was never like that, Fletch. Fletch was ice cold, just always on it. And in many ways, I think that made the rest of us relax. We thought, well, if Fletch is feeling it, what we're feeling is quite normal. So we got on with the day, started okay, and then we went bang bang with Vaughan and Bell, I think it was. And then KP survived caught behind first or second ball. Yeah, and it was all suddenly manic. And by lunchtime, I had my pads on, and we weren't very far ahead. And then after lunch, Kev went on this onslaught against their bowlers. I think he went from a point of sort of just trying to nurtle around to, I think Vaughan had spoken to him at lunchtime and said, look, mate, just play your way. There's no point trying to do something different. Go out and smack it. And he certainly tried to do that because balls are flying everywhere. So when you're next but one in, or the balls flying in all directions, you're pretty edgy. And then, I went in, I was batting 9 that game because Simon Jones had been injured at Trent Bridge. Paul Collingwood had come in as the extra man and I'd moved just down the order. And the 7th wicket fell. We were only about 205, I think, something like that ahead, which is still a good lead, but there were still 55 overs left in the game. And we batted in at 9, it was 7 down. The Aussies were very much still in it, given their batting lineup, and the pitch was playing pretty well. And I can almost close my eyes and still remember the next sort of 3 hours, because I'd sat there so nervously waiting to bat, almost shaking with adrenaline more than anything, to going out to bat with Kev and us just counting down every ball, then every 6 balls, 12 balls. I think at one stage we got to, let's get through these 4 overs, but then we worked back from there. And great, and just keeping each other going each end. And it started with, for me, it was just play, survival. Had this bloke at the other end who was still, who just was doing things that I'd never seen done, from 22 yards, some of the shots he played. So he was still scoring at quite a rate, and we're edging ahead. But I don't think at any time during that period we thought, that we'd done it. Probably not until Kev got out, and we were way ahead then. And again, it's one of those moments where you look up and you're like, geez, it felt like the whole world was in the ground or on rooftops or hanging out of windows around the Oval. And I suppose even after that point, I batted with Hoggy for quite some time. I got a 50, which I was really chuffed with, personally, because just to play a role like that and on the last day with Kev, I felt was really important. And then I got out and I did the same thing. You're disappointed, you trudge off, but then you sort of tell yourself, just slow down for a minute here, because you might never get this again. Yeah. And I remember seeing this crowd, and then the teammates up on the balcony, and Fred gave me the biggest bear hug in the world. And it was a really special moment, because I think one of the things that got me through that last day was that group of people. When you come down to these moments, you don't play for the Ashes as a trophy, or the accolades or the money. You play for your teammates, and that's what's really special about that group. And we were out soon after that. I think we went bang bang quite quickly. Yeah. So in no time at all, we were back in our whites, every one of us in our England caps and back on the field. And we were only there for 4 balls, but we were like kids really, and we weren't disrespectful to the Aussies, but just smiling at each other. And it was like, we've done this, and we were only out there for 4 balls, and the umpires, it was bad light. Aussies went off. We had to wait a little while until it was officially called off, but just that feeling, that sense of achievement. And again, I mean this from purely when you give it perspective, we'd not won the Ashes for 20 odd years. I was young when we won the Ashes, and I was the oldest man in that team. At 32, I was the oldest man in that team, and we hadn't won the Ashes since I was about 14 or something. So, a really special feeling to do it with that group, and against a team of that quality. They were a really special team. It was really boys' own stuff. That sense, and I think of lifting the nation as well. I think the cricket fever that ensued after that. People wearing Flintoff shirts instead of football shirts, and it being on terrestrial TV, the last big series that was shown on terrestrial TV, and probably changed. I mean, even and I mean this the right way as well. How recognisable we were almost overnight, or in 3 weeks. Yeah. We went from being able to lead quite well, very normal, disappear into the background lives, to, you know, even nowadays, you get the King of Spain, you know, shouted at you from down the road at me, and I've not played for the best part of 14 years now. So very great, you know, great memories, and unfortunately that was probably, you know, for that team, well, certainly Trent Bridge was the last time those 11 guys with Simon Jones played together. And we sort of all fell over the line, and a number of us after that fell apart through injury. We're never quite the same team again. Some went on and on, you know, and have had fantastic careers. But that was certainly the most special, you know, memory for me and team I've played in during my career.
Sure. And just briefly touching on the aftermath, obviously there's a lot said about certain players' antics and the fun that happened. What did you get up to, Ash?
I was very well behaved, obviously.
Yeah, be careful what you say.
We didn't sleep much, I must say. I got in a little bit of trouble with the missus, because we went back to the dressing room. I think everyone else went off to see the families, and it wasn't that I didn't want to see them or anything, but I think for me that, and I talked about that, I know maybe it's a bit soft, but that bond of your teammates, I was exhausted. I think I was mentally just blown, and I just wanted to be with this group of people who'd come through this sort of 6-week period with me. And we had a long night. I think the wives actually went out on their own, and we went out and had a few beers after being at the ground for some time. And then, I mean, the next day was, you know, Stina's dream relived, really, which none of us, even when we knew the bus ride was going to happen, none of us expected the crowds we saw that next day. You know, we thought there'd be one man and their dog, and getting to Trafalgar Square and that scene, and I still have a picture up in the house of that. It was just incredible, and something I don't think any of us will ever forget. It was a long old day, and we made the most of it. You know, Trafalgar Square onto Downing Street, back to Lord's, back to the hotel, and back out again. And I remember coming in. Kev and I were the last out of this nightclub next morning at about 3 o'clock, and when we came up these stairs, all these flash bulbs of photographers outside, and, you know, we were a bit drunk, a bit worse for wear. And in the paper, in the Evening Standard the next day, there was this picture, and it was something, and I've got it somewhere, something on the lines of, you know, after 32 hours on the piss, England's Ashes heroes finally declare, and it's just me and Kev falling out of this nightclub. So, you know, really, really great, really fond memories of the playing career.
Yeah. So, I mean, obviously from there, Ash, that was like an unbelievable pinnacle of achievement, personally, team-wise. After that, you struggled a little bit with injuries. Well, you struggled a lot with injuries, obviously, and eventually went on to retire in 2007. How did you cope with that sort of transition from such an amazing high to
yeah?
For you, I suppose it was a little bit of a sad ending, for any player if it's through injury.
Yeah, you know, I don't know how often it ever is good, really, because, you know, letting go of that, and it becomes part of your life. Far more than a job. And my hip injury had started in the beginning of 2005, actually, and it sort of started to get worse throughout the Ashes series. Went to Pakistan in the winter and had to come home, had my first operation. Didn't really settle. So I ended up going to America in the following summer, 2006, had an operation, which was very good, very successful. And then it was all about getting fit for the following Ashes in 6-7, which I did. And I made such an effort. It'd taken so much of me to get back to that series, because with this injury, even after the operation, life was different. You had to do you know, to do certain things every day just to get through. Every day was a struggle. And then the 6-7 series, we all know, you know, we got blown away. It wasn't good for any of us, and certainly wasn't a good series for me. I ended up coming home after during the third test. I played 2 tests, was dropped, and then, you know, I had to come home because Stina fell ill. So that whole thing then is a bit of a blur, and a bit almost part of my career that you try and, you know, I don't pretend it didn't happen, but it is a bad period. And after that, I was at home with the family for some time, and then had, you know, best intentions of starting with Warwickshire, and as we talked about, you know, maybe taking a leadership position, seeing if I could get back in the team, whatever. But went on a pre-season tour to the West Indies and injured my hip again, and that was pretty much it. Didn't play competitive cricket again. Had to make a decision to retire on medical advice, and it you know, at that point you don't really know what you're going to do, because again, you know, cricket's so much more than a job. It's your identity, and you know, these people you spend your life with, and overnight that sort of disappears. So I didn't really have a clue what I was going to do until later in that summer, which Warwickshire really started to struggle across all competitions. It looked like there was going to be a change in leadership. I was approached about it. At first I said, no thanks, not interested in that sort of thing, never thought about it. But I guess going back to my experiences, the more I thought about it, the more I thought about the teams I'd played in at Warwickshire and England and the people I'd worked with. You know, you just get back to basics, and actually, okay, I'll do this, you do this, you do this. Sort of team I'd want to develop under me. I'd sort of talked myself into a job, and within 4 weeks of retiring, I was director of cricket at Warwickshire. So didn't have much time to think about it, but I guess that's a different conversation.
Yeah, we'll definitely follow on that one. One last one. Quickly tell us about the King of Spain, which is obviously you're famous for. So just give us a quick bit of background on that, please, mate. Yeah,
I mentioned it slightly at the end of the story. I mean, a lot of people think it relates to benefit year, and you know, mugs were done for, you know, my benefit year and stuff, but it was way before that. It was about 2002-03, and I'd been playing for England, and the club shop at Warwickshire, they asked for a couple of samples of mugs from a supplier, and these samples came back to the shop, and they should have read King of Spin, but obviously the suppliers didn't know much about cricket, so they printed it King of Spain.
Yeah, they didn't know much about Spain either, presumably.
Oh no, obviously, I didn't look much like the King of Spain. And that's how it started, really. Originally just 2 mugs, and it was a bit of a laugh. So the shop kept one. I took one in the dressing room that I used for my coffee. That disappeared. Must have got broken or something. I've never seen that again. The shop one, I don't know, but that should still be around somewhere. But they were the only 2 originals. But then it snowballed from there. I think Nick Owen, who was doing local TV, got hold of it, was on TV, then it was in the papers. And then it developed through 4 when I had the success, and then through the Ashes, suddenly King of Spain. And that is still, as I said earlier, it's the one thing now. You know, I know when I can be out shopping in a supermarket, or I used to be able to be out shopping in a supermarket, none of us can at the moment. And I know someone's clocked me, and I'll get about, you know, 5 steps past, and then I'll just hear someone shout, "It's the King of Spain!" You know, that after all this time, that's the big thing that people hold on to.
Fantastic. Ash, that's brilliant, mate. Some fantastic insights into a wonderful career there, mate. Thank you very much for your time.
Thanks, mate. Big pleasure.
Thanks for joining us for the second part of Ashley's playing career. Hope you enjoyed it. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and smash the bell, and we'll be back with more content back soon. Bye.